How do you do? How do you do, ladies and gentlemen? I have here tonight a brilliant surprise, a fantastic personality, especially if you live anywhere in the tri-state area. You know his name by heart because he's colorful, he's dynamic, he's controversial. There is nobody who stops talking about him. When you hear who his name is, you'll say, hey, let's listen to every word he says, because nobody attracts more attention in this area than this man. I'm purposely not telling you his name because I want to get you nervous and get yourself ready to watch him. I was talking about, when I was introducing him, this fascinating personality of the radio talk show's business. His name is Michael Smerconish. Michael Smerconish got that name because they were trying to get even with him. Because I don't know what his parents were trying to do when they picked out Smerconish as a name. Jews have changed their names throughout history when they were called Bernstein or Goldberg, and they thought that somehow it's not such a beautiful name. But Smerconish, this is a hit. You couldn't think of another name. And you want to get even with somebody, so you look to me like a real Smerconish. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the radio talk show host on WPHT in Philadelphia. He is a columnist for the Philadelphia Daily News, and he's the author of a new book called Muzzled from T-Ball to Terrorism: True Stories That Should Be Fiction. I want to tell you something. I've heard about this book, Muzzled, because everybody's talking about the fact that he's attacked the whole issue of political correctness and how offensive and disgusting it is that while we call it a free country, people are afraid to talk. They forgot that they lost their freedom. They forgot that their speech is curtailed and their thoughts are unmentionable, that everybody has a right to think but never to say what they're thinking, and everybody is hiding and wondering what you're allowed to say about what. This is an unfortunate thing in supposedly a free country. That's why I want him to explain to us what he's talking about and why this book is such a hit and why everybody is discussing it. Here he is, Michael Smerconish.
Hey, Jackie, what a privilege to be with you. And by the way, listening to you talk about my name reminds me of when I saw you on Broadway and you talked about Tiffany Schwartz.
Right. About how Jews are ashamed of the Jewishness in their names.
Right.
And they always have to have a Gentile connection to it. Macadamia Goldberg. Right, they're trying to out-Gentile the Gentiles. I knew a Jewish kid is called Crucifix Finkelstein. So let me hear, because we don't have a lot of time, this is a comparatively short show. We'd like to hear what you got to say about, you don't have to give away the whole book, because we know you have thousands of examples to explain about political incorrectness and the devastation it's doing to the American mentality. But could you give us some idea, so to whet the appetite of the people, about what your book is all about and how it proves its point?
What I try to do, Jackie, is to tell about 24 standalone stories of political correctness in all aspects of our domestic life, in our religion, in our workplace, in our home life. And what I try to explain is that these are no longer just minor irritants to the quality of life. In a post-September 11 world, I believe that they're impeding our ability to kill radical Islam. People are walking around speaking in code, afraid to confront the reality. Afraid to confront, by the way in which the 19 hijackers on September 11 had race, gender, ethnicity, religion, and appearance all in common. And yet, at our airports and at our borders today, we continue to ignore all of those facts and focus on individuals who have no commonality with Al-Qaeda.
In other words, if you look like a terrorist, they let you go because they're all afraid of political correctness.
It's true. I mean, it's absolutely true, Jackie. Listen, an example of our domestic political correctness. Today, in the suburbs of Philadelphia, 2 of my boys went to school, and it was Grandparents' Day. A note came home, Jackie, that said, if none of the grandparents are living, you can keep the kids home from school, because we don't know that it's fair for them to show up and have to go through a day of suffering when they realize that other kids may have living grandparents and they do not. I'm holding a red pen in my hand. When I sign books, I sign in red, because red has now fallen out of favor in grade schools all across the country. Believe it or not, there's been a spike in purple ink sales, because purple is the color of Barney. And educators have decided that it's too much to hurt the psyche of young people if they get a bad grade and they see it in the color of blood. These examples are all around us. At Harvard University, at Harvard, a couple of entrepreneurial undergraduates wanted to start a room cleaning business. They had a wonderful idea. They said, we're going to call it Door Made, D-O-R, capital M-A-I-D. They approached Harvard. Harvard said, we love the entrepreneurial spirit, but you know, know that word, made, it's both sexist and demeaning. You're not allowed to use it. I mean, I could go on and on. You give me one aspect of life, I've got a story as to how things have gone crazy in this country. Are that things that in the past we would have settled with a hand gesture. And you know what hand gesture I'm thinking of? Now they're grounds for federal intervention and litigation. And it's gone crazy, and it's affecting our kids, and it's now spilling over into the war on terror.
In what way is it spilling over to the war on terror?
Because this same timidness, this timid nature, in fact, I've been asked on other programs, what is it that you're trying to say? And I've said, well, in a word, we've become sissies. And now they say, oh, he's being homophobic. But I think that's a word that sums up what I'm trying to say. We've become so timid, so afraid to offend one another, that we're even afraid to offend radical Islam in the war against terror. Do you know that in the Zacarias Moussaoui penalty phase, there was a 42-page jury verdict slip? And the jury evaluated, in deciding whether he should be put to life or death, they evaluated whether his mother treated him unfairly, whether his father was belligerent, whether he had an uncle who was psychotic, whether his sisters were mentally healthy. And I'm saying, this is nuts. We should be more worried about the upbringing of those kids whose parents had to jump out of the Twin Towers, but we've become sissies.
Boy, oh boy, this is hard hitting. You hit the nail on the head because you're a fearless man and you told the truth. God bless you.